Hare Krishna, greetings from New Jersey. Um, Reading from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Book 1, Chapter 7, Text 97. Adrishyamani chamayi pradipta viyogavanir vikalabha kadachit mrita Ivon madahata kadachit Vichitrabhavam Maduram Bhajanti. And when they cannot see me, they become so torn that the fire of separation leaves them sometimes as though dead and sometimes as though insane. Thus they partake in the nectar of wonderful ecstasies. Purport. In this verse, Krishna defends himself against the accusation that he is ungrateful to have abandoned the residents of Vraja. When the Vrajvasis feel because of Krishna's absence, what the Vrajvasis feel because of Krishna's absence is a concentrated agony similar to the burning heat of fire. They lose control of their wits, and sometimes they seem on the verge of death, showing no external signs of life. At other times, they seem afflicted by madness. But Krishna explains that these are all signs of the highest devotional ecstasies. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmulatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Madhavatiti, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the days of Lord Hari, Madhavatiti, such as Janmashtami, Ekadasi, Bhakti Janani. Janani, they give birth to Bhakti. So it was a nice 2 days, and it culminated yesterday here for those people local that live reasonably around me. We celebrated Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, and it was wonderful. I actually spent a lot of the days reading the tributes book. Sisha means one who takes the mood of his guru. So it was really nice to read the different offerings, the mood of humble dedication. I spoke yesterday, that's on the WhatsApp group that we have. I felt quite inspired to speak about the uniqueness of Prabhupada. But one point that I made is about over 40 years ago, maybe 43, I don't know, maybe 44, maybe 45, I don't know. But I remember the shock when I read this article in BTG that Satyrup Maharaj had turned 40 years old. I couldn't imagine someone being so old in the Hare Krishna movement and what that was like. As Rabindra Swarup said with his wit, that the problem with ISKCON is that Prabhupada was the only adult. But it was so nice hearing their realizations, beginning with Mukunda's. It's the tributes book, I think Jayadvaita Maharaj's. It has a lot of integrity, fairness, and I don't know, he didn't think the BBT Vyaspuj book was sufficient enough. He felt that all the disciples of Prabhupada should get a chance to write an offering, whether they are in ISKCON or not. And he used that old standard that they had, the sannyasis in order of initiation and the other devotees in order of initiation. So sannyasis began with Mukunda. Just nice. You feel his sincerity, how much they're trying to follow Prabhupada and aspiring to actually have legitimate feelings for Krishna, feeling that they're lacking, which is a sign anyway. I mean, they could be lacking or not, because when you become advanced, prema swabhav, nahi ganda, what is it? When one has prema, he doesn't even have a scent of that he has it, which makes sense because prema is a desire to want Krishna. And as you advance, you want Krishna more. So you thirst for something, but when you get it, it increases the thirst. Whereas if you're hungry and want food and you get food, it decreases the hunger. And in that intensity, you feel even more and more that you don't have Krishna for many, many reasons, but that's one of it. And therefore, this ocean of humility, this ocean of bhakti, they're parallel. They're parallel. What it is to see God, what it is to accept God, it's humbling. There's a supreme, absolute truth, authority, not just ruling over you, but in terms of the truth that one has to surrender to, which is not determined subjectively. Of course, there's a subjective understanding of, even Prabhupada, there's a certain subjectivity that's object too, because different people have different perspectives of a person. Be a mother, a lady, and one person may see her as a mother, one may see her as a lover, one may see her as a daughter, one may see her as a boss. So it's reality that's subjective in that sense. Anyway, I'm not going to tell my whole Prabhupada story, but or what I spoke on, but I was inspired. It's just inspired just by Prabhupada and what he gave and by those who followed him. and by his incredible story. I remember one godbrother who grew up in the Bronx. He met Prabhupada in New York, and somehow Prabhupada started to talk to him and asked him, "Well, what did you do before you went before you were a devotee?" Prabhupada was a pharmacist before he joined the mission. Prabhupada asked him, "What did you do before you joined?" And the devotee said, "I used to sell drugs." And Prabhupada said, "Yeah, I also used to sell drugs." Of course, Prabhupada was a pharmacist. He's selling medicine. And I don't know, Prabhupada understand what he said when he was selling drugs. But the story I told, and maybe it's a glorification of Prabhupada that I have a unique access to, is I just remember it very clearly. I'm walking up the steps of the Gurukul building. It's 11 days after Prabhupada. It's 11 days after Prabhupada disappeared. And Jayapataka Swami was coming down the stairs, and he looked at me and he said, "I just got a phone call from Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Maharaj." And he said that Prabhupada was a Shaktavesh avatar for preaching. Shaktavesh means a living entity who's empowered by Krishna to do a particular task with the power as if Krishna was doing. And I give the example of Pritha Maharaj, was a Shaktavesh avatar. He was ruling the world as if Krishna was. So I had the image that Prabhupada came to America. He preached as if it was Krishna. And I surmise that if Lord Chaitanya himself arrived in Boston Harbor, can't imagine the pastime would be any more exciting, any more successful, any more rasik and devotional. Just amazing. Prabhupada coming to Sali Agrawal, and coming alone with probably about $7 at that time. The last $6, 40 rupees at that time is $6. And coming to the Upper West Side and living in Dr. Mishra's place. And think what goes through someone's mind. What Srila Bhakti Siddhanta and Srila Prabhupada were most concerned about when people prematurely take to higher topics is they would lose the sense of personal service and sacrifice, which is the foundation of all other relationships. The foundation of all personal sacrifice and service. If you want Gopi Bhav, you have to have that mood. Yeah, and that example of Prabhupada's service and sacrifice. And what was in his mind? It certainly wasn't me. Tom Wolfe, I believe it. Maybe I think the most famous contemporary satirist, I don't know, um, controversial in some ways, but he wrote an article called The Me Generation about my generation as opposed to my parents' generation, the greatest generation, when they went to war and sacrificed their lives for freedom to fight the Nazis, the Japanese. And he talked about my generation. They'll never understand duty above self. It's becoming more and more foreign as we are conditioned. I mentioned that fantastic documentary. You should all see it, Social Dilemma. And you'll understand that anyone who touches a computer, the greatest social psychologists in the world are at Stanford University, and they're training the tech leaders in the most sophisticated ways, and they have, on how to control your minds by the feeds you get. It's very sophisticated. It's scary how sophisticated it is. And we're conditioned like that and becoming increasingly conditioned. I remember when I was young, I think I always had a weakness for Prajalpa. And I would wait for the New York Post. I would wait for the New York Post. And to see who got it first in our family. That was our contamination, what it is today. And to understand how Prabhupada, by giving a mission and giving us service, has given us the internal mood of the highest consciousness, which is the gopis at the highest stage, which is Radharani, which is Asli Shiva, Pararatam, Panasnumam, Madarshanam, Mamahatam, Karotu Va. You may do this, you may do this, you are my Lord. That personal sacrifice, the foundation of spiritual life. So, just Prabhupada's Leela, what was he thinking? It wasn't about himself. It wasn't about himself. There was no consideration of himself. Though I believe in Hari Sari's diary, Prabhupada used to visit the office of maybe Scindia's steamship in the New York Harbor every week, saying, there was some sense. Of course, there was some sense. Maybe I'll have to go back. This is so difficult. I think his original manuscript, his typewriter was stolen. The freezing winters, having to figure out to cook for himself, living with that hippie in a loft who went crazy. Prabhupada lived in the Bowery. Yeah. So many things. And then the headache of managing and being transcendental, having so much faith in Krishna, despite the people he had to work with who had one quality. They were dedicated to Prabhupada. And I surmise that's why in his last days, one of the main desires Prabhupada was that all the devotees come, especially the leaders come. Because the fact that after 50 years, almost 50 years since Prabhupada left, I think 47 now, the Hare Krishna movement is still going on. ISKCON is still going on. Just what he instilled in them in terms of wanting to please him, to shift people out of that materialistic, self-centered consciousness. So it was quite extraordinary. And it was just nice to spend a day like that. And hats off to the New Jersey devotees. I don't know. I think ISKCON should come and take lessons from them how to cook feasts because they're really, every preparation was just voila. It was great. Yeah. Now, this past time, themes are important because themes are the one idea that connects everything else, even if apparently unrelated. And by hearing everything, that the whole idea of a book is actually to give you one point, one understanding. The Bhagavatam, Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. The Bhagavan Swayam, he's the one. Bhagavan Swayam is Krishna. So this book is to present the last end limit of transcendence for the purpose of giving it to the world and representing the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is to give that to the world. And giving it to the world means not just expressing it, it means getting it understood. And people who are not experienced in writing or not experienced in communication or talking, they write or speak for their own understanding, not really comprehending that the audience does not have the same frame of reference as they do, who may have already understood a particular point. But Sanatana Goswami has none of that misconception. And he presents a very elaborate novel to not only story, to not only present the truth, but carefully build up the frame of reference to understand the truth, all the while presenting it in the most engaging story to do so. And I gave seminars on this called The Mission of Lord Chaitanya and the Genius of Sanatana Goswami. So now we're coming to the culmination of this first book in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, of Narada's journey to find that. And along the way, the elements of reference, picking up the elements of reference needed to understand that. So now Krishna is back in the palace. I think you've all been with me for this. I have to repeat it too much. Krishna is back in the palace. He's been freed from his illusion. He's been freed from, not the illusion. The illusion freed him from the anxiety. No, it freed him. It pacified him, let's put that, from his intense separation. It pacified him temporarily from the level of separation he was feeling for the gopis that made him dysfunctional and at least externally at risk of life. And Lord Brahma's plan worked by taking him to New Vrindavan. He felt he was in Vrindavan, his separation was relieved. And then, as his consciousness was becoming awake, eventually Krishna, it was revealed to Krishna that actually you actually are in Dwarka, and what you thought was a dream, it's actually true. You left Vrindavan, and you're in Dwarka, and Krishna comes back, and we have this interesting, I don't know, historical or literary catalyst. I'm sure it corresponds to contemporary good novel writing or classical novel writing. But there's this Padmavati figure who had Kamsa, who was an illegitimate child, because it wasn't born from her husband, but a demon who seduced her. And she has her issues. She's been envious. So she, along with the other queens, when Krishna went to Nava Vrindavan to pacify his separation, the degree of separation he had by making him think that he was in Vrindavan, they were watching behind the trees. And they saw for the first time Krishna in the mood of a lover of the gopis. And instead of becoming envious, they just were appreciating their husband even more and in a very intense emotional way. So when Krishna comes back and he's going to enter the palace again, Padmavati says to the gopis, basically, you're just a bunch of gypsy girls. You're nothing compared to those gopis who were like gypsy girls in the forest. Krishna loves them more. And then we have this amazing thing. Again, the theme affirming the love of the gopis. Devaki says, yes, Nanda and Yasoda are better, and this is why. And Rukmini, representing the queen, said, yes, Krishna is better, this is why. Analyzing her mood of conjugal love with Krishna, but in the mood of the queens, the subservient to the king, the social obligations, it has a flavor of love, but it becomes quite clear that even though it's pure, it has a flavor that's tempered. It's not as free. And then Devaki explaining why Nanda and Yasoda are best, what they desired for, what she desired for. So you get this element. It's just, again, the gopis. And then we have this scene where Satyabhama, who I explained her position of contrary love and how wonderful that is, but at the same time, and Krishna sees that she's not there greeting him, and he gets upset, and he really lets her have it, explaining why he loves the gopis so much and loves them even more than her. and he just explains that and explains and answers a question that was brought up in the previous chapter. At least it had to be in your mind. If Krishna loves them, why doesn't he go back, even though they're near dead? And then he explains this level of their love is so intense. It's like a disease. You only can get out of it gradually. You can't just awaken from it. And the problems Krishna would have and the doubt he had that in their consciousness of being in such separation and getting out of it and then seeing him, and then in that still very sensitive consciousness, they'll have the thought he may leave, and that thought itself will just explode and so it's just explaining the height of this love. And then here, just sometimes the words of the Sanskrit, one verse just explains all the depth of the emotion. Adrishyamane, not being seen. And what did that do? Pradipta. It inflames. And what does it do? What does it inflame? Viyoga. V against yoga. Vikarma. Not against. Viyoga against union. Separation. Inflame. Separation. Vane, due to fire. And because of that, Vikala, distraught, Mrita, dead, Unmada, by insanity, afflicted by insanity. And then the counterintuitive point, Vichitra, Bhavam, the wonderful ecstasies, Madhuram, the sweet, wonderful ecstasies, Bhajanti, they experience. So again, this spiritual world, which doesn't have the defect of impersonality, which is not limited by time, which is not limited by space, where everything happens because it's not limited by time, it's not limited by space. Everything happens always. Every event is eternal. And therefore having to accept that if there is a God, this is the way things must be. They must be in a way that we can't neatly fit it into our cause and effects box of how things in this world work under the mode of material nature of the law of cause and effect. We must accept that, even though we can't accept that. Because it's nowhere within the realm of our experience, but reasonably it must be so. Tamisra Punjadi Yadeva Kinchin Madhya Varno Paman Ikshate Tai Sukumbhananam Tat Parirabhyate Mad Diaparam Tatkwa Nuvarnaniyam. So it continues. If they see a patch of darkness resembling my complexion, they embrace it and kiss it, mistaking it for me. What more can I describe Satyabhama? You want to know why I love them so much? Look at their consciousness. Even if they see Tamisra Punja, something similar to a patch of darkness, Varna Upaman, which is similar to my color. Then what happens? Sukumbhanam, with kissing, paribhaya, embracing, maddiya, mistaking it for me, param tat varniniya. How can I describe further anything than this? This is the level of their love. Purport. When the devotees of Vrindavan, especially the young gopis, see a shadow or a dark place that reminds them of Krishna's spotless dark blue complexion, they think that Krishna is standing before them. What else they do besides trying to kiss and embrace the shadow, Krishna would rather not describe, because some of his hearers might be unqualified to understand and others might be plunged into distress. Even if he returned to his devotees in Vrindavan and graced them with his presence, he would be powerless to soothe and enliven them. And even in his absence, the Vrajavasis sometimes enjoy his presence on their own by picturing spiritual images of him within their minds. So Krishna feels he cannot do anything to change their situation and must remain an insolvent debtor, as he previously described. He should not be called ungrateful because the circumstances render him helpless. Yeah, so this is resolving that point. Krishna say, it may look like I'm not grateful for this type of love, but this is what I'm dealing with. This intense emotional state. This is what I'm dealing with. Ata eva maya swasya stitim apyastite saman shrushtva nagamyate tatra shrinvaratam yushmad udvave. Therefore, my staying with them would be equal to my absence, reeling that this I have not returned there. Now hear the real reason I married you. Purport. Okay, a little long, but they're written by Gopi Pranadhana, edited by Jayadvaita Maharaj, so they're usually. Whether Krishna shows himself to his dearmost devotees or remains unseen to them, they will be torn by ecstasies of separation, and he will suffer frustration of being unable to help them. Such is the apparent misery of Krishna and his devotees. But there is another level of this transcendental reality, unseen to ordinary eyes. Krishna lives eternally in Vrindavan, in his invisible uppercut manifestation, endlessly continuing to bestow the enjoyment of his pastimes. In some confidential pastimes, he returns to Vrindavan from Dwarka in his apricot form. Thus, at the same time that the devotees of Vrindavan suffer separation from Krishna's prakata manifestation, they continue to enjoy forever the manifestation which his pastimes are apricot. Some subtle hints of this have already been spoken by Krishna. Quote, I can never fully repay these devotees, and so I am utterly indebted to them. Text 93. Just by seeing me, they become so dazed and bewildered by ecstasies from deep within. 95. And Whatever measures I take for their happiness will only double their grief. Text 96. Elsewhere, the evidence of Krishna's secretly returning to Mathura Mandala is more concrete in Bhagavatam 111.9. The citizens of Dwarka mention Krishna's trip to Hastinapur and Mathura Mandal, and the ladies of Hastinapur, referring to Krishna's personal presence in Mathura, speak in the present tense. Aho alam shlagya tamanyado kulam, aho alam punya taman madhurvanam, yarisha pumsam rishabha priyasya, sajannana chankrananena chanchati. How supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living entities, the husband of the goddess of fortune, is marking the land by his birth and his wanderings. Bhagavatam 110:26. The women of Mathura city also talk about Krishna's being present still in Vraja. Punyabhata Vraja Uvo Yad Ayam Nilinga Udaparana Purusho Vanachitta Maya Gapalayan Sahabala Kranayam Shavenum Prakridayan Chanti Girichatta Ramachitangri. How pious are the tracts of lands of Vraja, for there the primeval personality of Godhead, disguising himself with human traits, wonderfully wanders about enacting his many pastimes. Adorned with wonderfully variegated forest garlands, his feet worshipped by Lord Shiva and the goddess Rama, he vibrates his flute as he tends the cows in the company of Balaram. Bhagavatam 10:44-13. In the Uttarakhanda of Sri Padma Purana, Lord Shiva relates to his wife an even more explicit account of Krishna's returning to Vraja and remaining there permanently. And in the second part of this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the glories of Golok, the conclusion will demonstrate that Lord Krishna always resides in Gokul. Nevertheless, Krishna has chosen not to divulge to Sri Satyabhama and his other queens that he returned to Gokul. Hearing about this would distress them, and he cannot tolerate seeing his devotees distressed. Okay, we'll end there for today, kind of. We can have reflections and anything people take away. Jamuna Jaya, you there?
That's Raj. Oh, where's my camera? Hi, Raj. Um, Thank you so much for class, and thanks for sending along the reflection books. I sat and I read several last night as well. It were really very. I can't wait to go through all of them. I didn't realize there were so many. So
What's
that
that?
was the reflection, the Prabhupada reflection link that you sent in the WhatsApp.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was really wonderful. But I was really appreciating the point of what you're saying a little bit earlier that we can't, why do human beings try to think we can put Krishna in a box in our thinking? Is like we think just because we can't conceive it or it's inconceivable to us, that must be true of Krishna. It's very arrogant of human beings to think that way.
Right, we can understand something
Yes.
intellectually, but not everything intellectually. Pantasta koti satavatsura sampragamyo vayor atapi manaso muni pungavanam. By the speed of mind, we can go for infinite amount of years and not touch Krishna's lotus feet. So there is a revelation and an understanding, but it may not fit into our completely. It'll be reasonable, but not, what's it called? Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, Jamina Jaya. Okay. How was John Mastamy there at the Bhakti Center? You were there?
Oh, it was rocking.
Uh,
It was rocking. I didn't stay till the end because it was so rocking, but it was definitely rocking. And yesterday afternoon, there was a nice program at the Bhakti Center for Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. And then in the evening, it was over 26 Second Avenue.
okay. Who spoke in the afternoon for Prabhupada's Vyas Puja?
In the afternoon, Arjuna gave a reflection. Satyaraj was there, but didn't speak. It was we did a Pushpanjali and a kirtan, and
What
then
time was that?
it was from 11:30 to about 1.
So Arjuna gave a reflection. Who else?
Yeah, Arjuna gave reflection that he was the only senior Prabhupada disciple that was there. The other came from some of the other members of the Bhakti Center community.
Anyone you remember that spoke that I know?
Let's see. Yeah, well, let's see. Sunjanath Prabhu read Radhanath Swami's reflection, and that was really sweet. And then this new young lady that's moved into the ashram, she sang so beautifully a reflection from Yamuna Devi. And I guess Yamuna Devi at one point had written a song. And so this young lady sang it, and that was really moving. Karuna Nimai at the Bhakti Center gave a reflection, and then Jaini Tai and Baba Bhakti both read reflections. It was really sweet.
And you went in the evening to 26 Second Avenue?
Yeah, I didn't go in the evening, 26th Avenue. I think some other people here in the call went, and I just saw a video that Ishvari Sundar sent me. It looked like it was,
Who was there in the evening?
yeah, I'm not sure it was there in the evening because I didn't go, but I know Ishvari Sundar was there in the evening. And Yadnath was there in the evening, I know.
Okay, good. All right, thanks for the little update. Okay,
Krishna.
Gail,
Oh, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Bravo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a few things actually. At the top of your lecture, you mentioned that Krishna himself said that the gopis are in ecstasy. He acknowledged that. So why is he so worried about them? I mean, I know that they're like they have this disease and like near death, but at the same time, he does know that they're in
Well, all I can say is that on a spiritual perspective, you can always look at things from the heart and from the head. Like, for example, Prabhupada's disappearance. Should we be sad? Nitya Lila Pravishna, he's entering. But yes, there's feelings of sadness too. Or Prabhupada was looking at Anuttama Adhikari, sees everyone serving Krishna better than himself. But then how can he instruct? He has to come down to the intellect, although the head is the head above it. He has to come down to the intellect and make discriminations. So Prabhupada chastised disciples. He criticized people against Krishna consciousness, but he also had the mood. So I think like Krishna is Mugdata. He's Sarvagya. He's all-knowing. He's forgetful. So I think in that realm, whatever serves love. So I think he can come on one level and be aware completely, and then another level be forgetful.
Yeah.
Just like when the cowherd boys die on the bank of the Jamuna when they sipped the water. Krishna thought they died. But on the other hand, he's omniscient and he talks that way too. So I think in that realm, love rules,
Mm-hmm.
not logic.
Yeah. Okay, Maharaj, you remember that part of your talk where you were saying how, a person who is trying to explain the Shastra, they have to be able to understand how their audience is going to receive it, right? So, and they have to, even though they themselves might understand the Shastra, they have to communicate it in a way that, understanding the audience's frame of reference, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not It's not, it might be misunderstood. But then you said, even though they might understand the point, and it sounded like you were talking about the audience when you said that. Even
I don't remember it all.
okay. Maharaj, what's the name of that documentary again that you want us to?
The social dilemma.
The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should show it to your kids, your children, it's really, you don't understand how much they're rewiring your brain and controlling it. Okay, thanks. Anyone else like to say hello or express a reflection?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Shraddhanjali and Kalatanti.
Hey, Haribo, happy.
Haribo.
Are you out in Santa Barbara, Campeteria?
We just got back.
Okay, wow.
Back to Iowa.
Okay, nice to hear from you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks so much for the class.
Great. Thanks. So nice to hear you. Wow. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. Great to hear from you. Haribo.
Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Slow Govinda.
And Braja, thank you, class.
It's a great day. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, it was really nice. Very nice.
Good prasadam. I mean, everything was nice. The kirtans were all great. The talk everybody enjoyed. And prasadam. People don't understand this point. When devotees are loved with good food, it really enlivens them, you know? You know what I'm saying? I could see that.
Yeah.
You sit there and feeling, wow, we're loved, you know?
Yeah, it's so nice.
One of the subsies we didn't even use.
Oh.
Jack cooked for that, but he didn't even use it.
Oh.
I'm not gonna put my thing up when you see this kind of stuff. Hey, man.
Oh.
It was really good. He said, "No, I cooked that for us for the week," but it was so good. And what are those called that go over on law, like samosas?
I think kachoris.
Oh, there was some kind of like a kachori with very nice.
Yeah, it was really good.
Jack's dal was great. Of course, there's rice, there's chapatis, there's, everything. The sweet, your carrot pudding pies, they're pretty good. You trained him so well how to do that, how he made that expertly.
He's a good student.
What?
He's a good student.
It takes a lot of work, I know. It takes a lot of work. Okay. Anybody else? Say hello.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the class.
Are you still in
Sundari.
Tehran, or when are you going to Vancouver?
Yeah, I came to Tehran. I go on 12th of September, Maharaj.
12th of September there, okay. And that's a paid job for a year, right?
What's that?
They pay you for a year to be a visiting professor, right?
Yeah, they pay my salary, Maharaj. Yeah, the university pay my salary, and they give some help to me to go to Vancouver. It's not enough for living 1 year there, but it's very good help. Yeah, and this is some part of my job.
They pay your salary that you would have in Tehran. Is that it?
Yes, they give it in one go. They don't pay it monthly. They give it all together, and they give some other money that I can provide some dollar to go to Canada. Yeah.
Okay, but on the other hand, you'll probably be living with your daughter, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So you don't have to get an apartment, right? So that's because that's already paid.
No, I cannot afford it, Maharaj.
Okay, I'm saying.
I cannot afford it. It's very expensive.
What subject? What subject will you teach?
Oh, the subject that I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually it's a research project, Maharaj. Mostly, I'm working on the research project, but I may teach in the research methodology as well. but I'm not sure which courses they offer me. But the thing that I'm going to do mostly is the research project, which is regarding the health in the Children's Hospital in Vancouver, connected to UBC, University of British Columbia, and Simon Fraser University.
In other words, your thing would be how design affects health, or how a hospital should be designed. That's what you do?
Well, not really, Maharaj. It is working on some app to help the people who come to the hospital, to help them to make the process easier and more effective. Yeah, we are working on that. Already we are working.
So it seems quite exciting. I think we lost you.
We are working together.
It seems quite exciting, right?
Okay. Yes, it is, Maharaj. Yeah, it is very exciting.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for your blessing.
Thank you. Good. Anybody else say hello?
Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. This is Krishnamrita. Thank you so much for the class. It was so important for me to hear again that service and sacrifice are in the basis for the highest love. And I also love when you...
That's a really important point. Personal service and sacrifice. So important. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Mukunda Prishta.
Hey, Mukunda. Great to have you. But let's touch base maybe later today or tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, that's fine, Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, it's Yvette. Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Yvette,
Thank you.
And where did you spend Janmashtami? Philadelphia?
Oh, no, I was home. I watched some of Srila Prabhupada's talks on YouTube, read some of the stuff that you sent, but I worked and stayed home.
You had to work.
Yeah.
But it's great actually too. I also stayed back for Janmashtami, but it was great. I was just chanting all day and
yeah. Janmashtami, I went to Super Soul. I spent with Raghunath and some devotees there.
Oh, how many people were there?
I would say about 15.
15.
It was nice. Yeah. Sweet.
Who else was there besides
Don Cayley was there.
Who?
Don Cayley was on here. We had Katie and Jai that were there with their kids.
Great.
Kaylee Lalita and Sachi Sutta was there.
Great. A small intimate group.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. That's nice that you support that. That's nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else come? Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, good to hear from you and see you again. Shana Qureshi.
Okay, great. Okay, where did you do Janmashtami or Prabhupada? You had to do it online?
Did it at the Schenectady Temple.
Okay.
I stayed over there too, so I had the two little boys with me, so I was able to do both stay overnight there, get up for Mangal Arati.
They have guest rooms?
Yep, they got one right now. They're almost finishing. They're almost done with the upstairs. Like they renovated the whole upstairs to be an ashram. I think we're going for like 12 beds. So,
okay, well that's great. And
it's coming along. Yeah.
Sad there must be off the charts. They're also kind of famous for their cooking, huh?
So good, very filling.
Okay, yeah, I know, because they would be the ones that sometimes would cook for Satsrup Marge's thing, and
yes.
Okay. What was your favorite prep?
I tell you, breaking fast at midnight, they just had this nice little quinoa dish, and then they had this other dish. It wasn't potatoes. I think it was like yucca root or something. Chips were something special. They were fresh made, perfectly salted. It was just like each one was just it was it. And I'm gonna say the breaking the Janmashtami fast at midnight was my favorite. It was great the next day too at noon. But definitely, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
No,
John Moss.
they're mostly from Guyana, Trinidad, that kind of community, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and they love to cook. I know that.
I
Okay.
sure do.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming on. Okay.
Of course, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Good morning, Maharaj. I just wanted to thank you for today's class and express the separation I'm feeling when I hear you talk about the Jersey celebration and the wonderful prasadam. I miss everybody. Miss you.
Okay. I don't know. On September 1st, we have something at Chai Subhadra's if you and Kaylee are free.
Yeah, Malati did mention that, and yeah, Kelly's at work, but I'm trying to make it work out. But,
If you
yeah,
can.
that sounds nice.
Okay, Haribo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj is Dan in Philadelphia.
Okay, you did Philly?
Unfortunately, I'm not in Philadelphia right now. I'm on family vacation, so I had to do it myself. But I got my deities with me, and I had a nice day.
Okay, great. Okay, nice, Dan.
Hare
Nice to see
Krishna.
you on the previous Saturday at Govardhan Bhakta and Braja. Okay. Anybody else?
Absolutely.
Anybody else say hello? Okay, I'm going to look down the list, see all the people that came. Great. Okay, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhava Patiram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.